Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Whisky Geek with me, Ben. Now, you may be able to tell my voice is a little bit messed up. I've got a cold, been feeling under the weather for a few days now, but I'm going to be relying on tasting notes that I generated over multiple sessions weeks ago, rather than telling you what the whiskey tastes like today, because that's not going to be at all representative. So, do you remember years ago where the world went mad for these Game of Thrones whiskies? So from a commercial point of view, these Game of Thrones bottlings were a bit of a masterstroke from a profitability point of view, but from an integrity and from an engagement with a whiskey enthusiast point of view, not so hot. The Diageo intentionally staggered releases. They artificially created this impression of a reduced quantity, so the demand exceeded the supply. Prices inflated because of that, they were sought after. And I remember seeing the Clynelish in particular, there was a couple of others, but the Clynelish in particular was of note to me because I was sat on two bottles that I spent £55 on, and they were going on auction for £220, £230. Crazy money people were paying just to try and finish the set. Now the whiskey themselves, I think is fair to say, now that the hype's died down, hopefully I won't get any flack for this, none of them are particularly amazing, none of them are standout whiskies. Several of them are very good, very enjoyable whiskies, but they're not worth certainly 220 quid on auction. One of the bottles that I was struggling to find but was interested to try was the Oban. So I mentioned this to my dad back at the time we were able to travel, so he was going through duty frees, through airports for work, and I just said, if you can find one around whatever retail was at the time, could you grab it for me? So I got a text message at like 5 AM. I was fast asleep so I didn't respond, but he'd found an Oban and there was also a Royal Lochnagar on the shelves. Was I interested? Didn't respond, so he grabbed a bottle anyway on the off chance that it was of note or was interesting or it was hard to come by, and brought it home with him. We opened the bottle together, drank it together a few times, and he then handed it over to me to review, to generate notes and do a review of. That was back in 2019, and it's sat on my shelves ever since. So finally getting the review done, and I'll be able to hand it back over to him to finish off. So thanks, Dad. So Royal Lochnagar obviously is a Diageo distillery. It's one that I've never really engaged with prior to this bottle. It was originally New Lochnagar. In 1848 it was visited by Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, and they gave the distillery a royal warrant, so they renamed it Royal Lochnagar. This bottle is the Game of Thrones House Baratheon. It's Royal Lochnagar, 12-year-old, 40%, Diageo, so it's coloured and it's chill filtered. Now, I've never done a side-by-side myself, but I have heard several reports that this 12-year-old whiskey is the same as Royal Lochnagar's standard 12-year-old bottling. If that is the case, you are paying an awful lot more just for this Game of Thrones label, just for this branding, which really does make it just a collector's item, less so a whiskey for drinking. So finally, on to actually looking at the whiskey itself. I've got this one down as a shade 6 or Chardonnay. Although it is not naturally coloured, it is fairly faintly coloured, so hopefully there's not a lot of E150A in there. On the nose it's quite creamy, there's a white wine astringency, there's some warming spices like nutmeg, cinnamon, raisins, and a soft cereal tone, kind of like a white bread. That's interestingly, it's coming together with the raisins, the spices, the buttery creaminess, and it's making me think of bread pudding. There's honey, vanilla, some gentle oak. There's some lemon citrus and almost like tinned pears, in the syrup. It's quite soft. It's malty and it's got some kind of bite, like some cracked black pepper or some cloves. But at 40%, it's very tuned down. It's very soft and in the background. Onto the palate. It's quite oaky. Initially, a light astringency that gives way to more of that cracked black pepper. It becomes kind of warm. It's got a somewhat milky feel with some subtle soft fruits, again the pears, some green grape, but overall it's very gentle. It's quite a mellow palate. So that finish is pushing through gentle, soft again. It's the honey, it's the subtle fruits, but there's a hint of that cinnamon and nutmeg that's bubbling through. There's a warmth to it. There's some dry hay tannins and a very, very gentle oak in the background as well. It's quite a short finish though, it doesn't linger long at all. So this is a perfectly drinkable whiskey. I've rated it at 66%. It's elegant, it's nice, it's friendly, but it's not a great deal more. This is the kind of whiskey that I would either use as the beginning of a flight, as a palate reset, or to pour for people who aren't whiskey enthusiasts. You know, at 40%, it's not going to bite anyone, it's very friendly, but there is some elegance and there's some tones and elements in there to explore and enjoy. It's just lacking the richness or the engagement or the complexity that you would want for a bottle of this price, in my opinion. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this little whiskey review. If you have, please do like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Feed the YouTube algorithm, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.